Baby, we're back. Yeah, what do you know? Got the computer working and let's go. I'm Frank Stanisci, Candid Frank Live. Welcome to the Spanglish World Network on Zingo TV, channel 250 and channel 249. Please remember to download the Zingo TV app at the respective app stores for iOS and Android devices. While you download the app, make sure you rate, leave a comment. Both apps are absolutely free. Zingo TV is available on Google, Chromecast, Amazon Fire TV sticks, Roku sticks, and also in all smart TVs 2016 forward. Now on Candid Frank Live. Joining me as usual is Aaron William Freeland. And when we hit 2026, we can stop talking about 2016 forward. Maybe.
There might still be folks out there with 10-year-old TVs. It's happened before. I mean, just like some cars are 10 years old, some TVs just don't seem to die.
Absolutely. And I really apologize for the difficulties I had the past week. My computer crashed. I was forced to put Windows 11 on a computer that doesn't like Windows 11. I went in and out of the computer store 3 times to get something fixed. The bottom line was that I rely very heavily on Microsoft, the application called OneDrive. So because I have their 365, I'm entitled to a terabyte of data in the sky. And in the sky, it goes to all the computers I have, which is 4, actually 5, because one I parked. But they're all like, anyway. So basically, my desktop, I couldn't. The OneDrive for the first time wouldn't connect to my computer, and all my files are there. Everything is there, and so finally, I got it fixed. So now, when I send an email, I can just pick a document that I created and put it in the email. Where before, what I had to do was I had to go into OneDrive, I had to download it onto the desktop, and then I had to go into the and then find it, do it that way. So I literally had to bring it to the computer, and so I'd have to open OneDrive. I'd have to go to find where it was. And long story short, it's over. That's the sound of wood being knocked on. So let's get to the fun part of why we're here. What's new with you?
Not a whole heck of a lot, thank goodness. Everything's been relatively stable. I'm doing dry January again, so there's that.
You're not drinking water.
Not drinking all of the other stuff
You're not
that
drinking
has been
water.
added to water.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, good for you.
Oh, I figure it's worth a shot.
Is that why? Is it so dry January and freaky February?
Something like that. Yeah.
Is that what we end up with?
Pretty much. I mean, it is my birth month, so I guess
it's mine
February
too.
would be kind of awesome.
It's mine too. So there's a good reason always to celebrate. Oh, Aaron, anyway, thanks again. And I apologize again for the difficulties I had. I know how hard you worked to get this show going, and I appreciate all your hard work. And I'm sorry you wasted a couple of times. I apologize.
It happens, Frank. We'll get used to it. Technology is never anybody's friend.
Let's talk about the Canadian Football League, and let's talk about the Lions and their signing of Shaun White to an extension, their kicker.
Yeah, Shaun was actually eligible to become a free agent on February 11th. He's 39 years old from White Rock. He's continued to crawl up the record books. He led the CFL with a 94.3 field goal percentage, hitting 50 of 53, and got the West Division nomination for Most Outstanding Special Teams Player. White also increased his career points total to 2,116, 9 behind Terry Baker for 10th on the CFL's all-time scoring list, and became the league's most accurate kicker in history at 88.4%. He also collected all CFL and West Division LCFL honors for the second straight season. So by making good on his first 29 field goals of the season, he actually set a new club record of 47 in a row. The Lions are well set when it comes to kicking, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, good for them. A lot of new coaches there. There's a lot going on in BC, and that's just one of the things. Riders release Trevor Reed for an NFL opportunity.
Yeah. Now, this actually, he was the Rough Riders nominee for Most Outstanding Rookie in 2024. He started all 18 regular season games as well as the Western Semi and played an integral part in the Roughies' offensive success. His departure comes just a few hours after the Roughies signed American offensive lineman Brandon Kemp. though. There's a bit of give and take, a little bit of balance there, but I do wish him the best in his NFL opportunity.
Yeah, and that I'm looking here. The Argos lost Mackay Polk that way yesterday. He signed with Atlanta. Let's talk about the Riders signing Benoit Marion to an extension. Important player for that team.
Yeah, he initially signed with the club in October of 2024, so just recently. He went on to play 2 regular season games, getting 4 defensive tackles and 1 sack. He also suited up for both the Roughies playoff games and got 1 defensive tackle. Prior to joining the Roughies, he spent time with the Ticats and Argonauts back in 2024, suiting up for 9 games and registering 6 special team tackles. He was originally selected to the Alouettes in the 3rd round, 25th overall of the 2020 CFL draft, signed with the Argos in October of 21, played 28 games between 2021 and 2024. He's been around for a bit now, but after playing 4 seasons at Montreal and appearing 25 games as a Carabin, he got 67 collegiate tackles, including 20 tackles for a loss and 11 sacks. So they're getting a good piece here. This is definitely somebody who knows his way around the CFL and knows his way around football. So congratulations to them on scooping him up.
The Red Blacks signed a DB.
Yep, they got Justin Howell. They signed him to an extension through the 2025 CFL season. He was also set to become a free agent on February 11th. You're going to hear that a lot. That is the start of the CFL silly season. Once February 11th hits, that's a Tuesday this year, I believe. It's going to be a little bit hairy out there. So, he was set to become a free agent. He's a native of Bradford. He's 31 years old, and he's been with them for 6 seasons. So, that's a pretty good record.
Excellent record for that matter. Also, we can talk about the Elks signing Trey Odom's Dukes to a 1-year deal.
Yeah, he spent the last 3 seasons with the Stampeders, including 2023, where he hauled in 60 passes for 686 yards and 2 touchdowns. He spent the entire 2024 season on the Stampeders injured list before being released by the club back in December. After a rookie campaign in 22 that saw him suit up for 4 games, catching 11 passes for 112 yards and a touchdown, he emerged as a threat in early 2023. In the first 7 games, he had 38 receptions for 456 yards and 2 touchdowns. He finished the season second on the Stampeders in targets, receptions, and was 3rd in receiving yards.
Let's talk about the Argos. They made some signings.
Yep, they extended the defensive backs McFadden and Milton. McFadden played 12 games with the Argos in 2024. Now, McFadden also spent a month with Ottawa after spending training camp with the Argos in May. The defensive back played with Toronto in 22 and 23, tallying 70 defensive tackles. Milton signed with Toronto on July 1st and went on to play 10 games. He got 24 defensive tackles, 7 on special teams. He started 2024 with Hamilton, where he played 1 game before being released in June and getting scooped up by the Argos. Now, the other players that we also signed, let's see here. I know that there were 2 others that were mentioned, but so
Okay, we'll save it for next time.
And Mark Milton are the major signings at this point, along with Craig James, there we go, and Damon Williams.
Good move. All right, and so that basically ties in with Polk's departure. Why don't we talk about hockey? And you can tell by the graphic that we focus on the Maple Leafs, even though we talk about the other teams as much as we do about the Maple Leafs, and we're going to prove it right here and right now. Let's talk about the Habs and the Canucks starting their road trip.
Yeah, so not the start that Vancouver wanted. They've got a 5-game road trip out east here with a 5-4 overtime loss to the Habs. JT Miller had 2 goals. Jonathan Lekkerimäki and Jake DeBrusk also scored for Vancouver. Cole Caulfield, Caden Gooley, Kirby Dock, Lane Hudson, and Nick Suzuki scored for the Canadians. Lankinen made 19 saves on 24 shots, while Sam Montembeault made 16 saves on 20 shots. Quinn Hughes, the good news is Quinn Hughes is almost back. He took to the ice alongside Tyler Myers during warm-ups and ultimately skated in his long-awaited 400th career NHL game. Lekkerimäki slotted in for Dakota Joshua, the later who was placed on IR earlier today. So good to see that they're making some strides in that regard and slowly getting back to full strength. But again, not the start that the Canucks wanted.
But then you've got the Sens and they lost in overtime to the Hot Wings,
But I
Spicy
know
Wings.
I didn't write that headline. I kind of wish I did. But Patty Kane scored on a power play with 2:39 remaining in overtime. The Red Wings have extended their NHL win streak to 5 games. Larkin scored on a power play in the first period, and Joey Valino also scored in regulation. Larkin has now extended his goal streak to 4 games. After losing to Buffalo last Thursday and playing that game last night, the Sens are now hitting the road for 5 of their next 9 games before getting an extended homestand later in January. So it's tough times for a lot of teams. A lot of them are now on the road.
Well, we've seen a lot of teams go on the road and have a lot of success, and Ottawa's been one of them. They've been able to play well on the road, so that they shouldn't be demurred by the fact that they're on the road. Somebody who isn't demurred is Connor Hellebuck, who won his 300th game for the Winnipeg Jets, Aaron.
Yeah, that was a big one for him. He stopped 26 shots in the win. Unfortunately allowed 2, but that's okay. Morgan Barron and Josh Morrissey scored 16 seconds apart to give him a little bit of help. Kyle Connor, Gabe Velarde, and Nino Niederreiter also scored for Winnipeg, who halted a 3-game losing streak. Mark Scheifele added a pair of assists. Philip Forsberg ended an 18-game scoring drought with his 10th goal of the season for the Preds. UC Saros made 26 saves. Winnipeg was up 3-0 after the first and 3-1 heading into the third. So there are signs of life there, and I'm glad that they're not total frauds, just mostly.
Oilers! Enrique scores 2. Oilers blank Bruins.
Yeah.
4-0.
It's not looking good for the Bruins, man.
Well, that Atlantic Division, there's a real setting of the table of creating a lot of volatility. And the Bruins continuing to lose is going to feed that volatility.
I think that the real problem is if the playoffs were to start today, I think they'd probably end up playing the Leafs.
Leafs wouldn't mind that.
Well, I mean,
that's not the same. No, Aaron, don't worry about that. The Bruins are not the same team.
No, thank goodness. The Leafs are in first in their division with 56 points. They're at 11 points ahead of Boston, who have 45. So there's some comfort in that, but the fact that Boston's been 3-5-2 in their last 10 games is a little bit concerning if you're Bruins ownership.
And lessons have been learned for those of us that watch the Maple Leafs. We do know that during the regular season, the bad habits that you don't pay for that much, you do pay for in the playoffs. And the Bruins have a lot of bad habits.
They really genuinely do. And
so that's why I can say it. But we're saying that now. We're not going to talk like that before the playoffs. If they're playing the Bruins are the favorite. The Leafs are the underdog.
Always.
No matter where they sit. And every 4-1 lead needs to have concern attached to it.
Always. I think that's the biggest source of Leafs trauma right there.
Let's go with the Flames, and Huberdeau scored 2.
Yeah, they got a 3-2 win over the Ducks. I mean, it's not like that's really all that hard to do. The Ducks, I think, are currently sitting well back in the standings from the Flames, so that's fine. There's 6 spots out of a wild card spot. But yeah, Huberdeau got a goal in overtime at 2:05 in. Mackenzie Weegar had a goal and an assist for the Flames. Nazem Kadri scored, and Dustin Wolf stopped 25 shots. So things are rounding around for Calgary. They are currently third in the wild card race with 45 points, tied with Vancouver, and a few points behind the Colorado Avalanche. So there's still hope.
So, Leaf defenseman's out of the lineup, gets in a fight. I did not like him getting in. He should have let somebody else get into it. It wasn't, not that Hathaway's an extreme heavyweight, but on the Flyers, he is a heavyweight, and he is a pseudo heavyweight. And I really didn't like him. I didn't like McCabe getting involved in that fight. I really didn't. There should have been, a little payback later on. I know about the immediacy and all that, but, the Flyers were doing it repeatedly. And I don't know. It even carried into the second game, Aaron. running the goaltender.
Yeah.
And it saddened me because they had their pugilistic expert out there, and there wasn't the deterrent I expected. And one would have thought, the way the coach was talking, he was literally taking the gloves off one of his players for sure. I just didn't have DeWar on my bingo card.
No, I didn't expect that either, to be honest with you. Unfortunately, it has landed him on the IR for at least the next 3 games. If you did see the fight, he did pank his head off the ice pretty hard, and he
Yeah,
did look
the
very,
full
very
weight
woozy.
the
So,
full weight of the opponent on him.
yeah, it's funny how often that seems to happen when Garnet Hathaway fights.
Really?
Somehow his forearm ends up across somebody's head and pushing them into the ice. It's
Oh,
strange.
is
I mean,
that a trend?
yeah, well, he also spat on another player in the middle of a scrum as well.
Oh, lovely.
So he's the fact that Domi got $5,000 fine for elbowing him in the head doesn't exactly upset me. Um, you know, as far as I'm concerned, that's money well spent. Garnet Hathaway is one of my least liked players. So
And Domi has literally been playing on the edge, Aaron, and maybe going over it a little bit, right?
well, what I find interesting is I think so far this season Toronto has had 7 fights. Ryan Reeves has not been in one of them. None of the fighting has been done by their designated tough guy, quote unquote, Ryan Reeves. It's all being done by other guys. Now,
I see your concern.
don't get me wrong. I don't expect Reeves to go out and fight. But
What?
the way that Ryan plays, you kind of expect it at a certain point. But so far it
Well,
hasn't happened.
when you're seeing players run your goaltender, and I'm going to say this as nicely as I can. When players are doing the Gordie Howe thing, I don't know, you're not old enough to remember Gordie Howe, but Gordie Howe was known to and be proud of the fact that on his first shift, he would skate down the ice, cross the blue line, and aim for the goalie's head, just to send a little message.
Yep.
There was a little bit of that going on, I think. I suspect there might have been a little bit of that going on.
Well, I do remember Gordy telling me to get the longest stick I could and the loosest jersey I could, so that you could put the butt end of the stick up the sleeve of the jersey, just when you went in for a hit.
This is terrible, terrible, terrible.
Lovely
Well,
man, don't get me wrong.
oh,
Lovely
hey,
man,
listen,
but
the originator of the Gordie Howe hat trick. That's why they named it after him.
yep, goal assist in a fight.
Absolutely. Yeah, and Domi, we talked a little bit about him. Now, on an evening when on a day when the coach talks about he wants to see a little more roughhousing by the Maple Leafs, I'm paraphrasing, of course. That wasn't the word that he used. And they had mentors at the game. So the coach talks about that kind of toughness he was looking for. And nowhere to be found was Ty Domi in the mentor pool of people. I wonder if the coach saw that and said, maybe I need to inject some mentorship in here. And he mentioned, I don't know if that was a coincidence that Domi wasn't like, if I was, I don't know why nobody, including his son, didn't bring him. Because, I don't know.
I don't know. It seems like it might have been a little odd if Ty had showed up and his son plays for the team. There might have been an attempt to
Well,
avoid a sort of a
there were older sisters as mentors,
fair.
right? There was a football coach as a mentor.
Joe
CFL
Thornton was
coach.
there. Doug Gilmore was there.
Joe Thornton, I can see. Gilmore, I can see. Clark, I can see. Those guys, Aaron, especially Gilmore and Clark. Now, Thornton was a Leaf for a short period. But, if there's a quality the Leafs lacked under Kyle Dubas, it would be those two guys. I mean, their absence screams loudly that their type of player wasn't on the Leafs. And I think, I'm assuming now, Oh, it's such an easy assumption, though. If they had a Clarkish or Gilmore-ish kind of person on that team, they would have won one cup in all those runs. They would have, because either of those guys would grab the team by the scruff of their neck and drag them into the Stanley Cup.
Oh, for sure. It's just a shame that none of them could actually have done it during their playing careers. But hopefully with their mentorship, the Leafs will be able to do something with it.
So how about that last game? The Leafs won. Hey, uh, you know, they they are a team, and it's great. It's playoff style. Don't bend. Bend, don't break.
Yeah, no, and with the Flyers being where they are in the standings, taking both games on a back-to-back, well, almost with travel is not necessarily a bad thing. You know, um, Currently Philly's sitting with 39 points. You got to try to grab them where you can, and beating the Flyers twice by identical 3-2 scores and extending your game to your win streak, sorry, to 5 games. That's not necessarily a bad thing.
No.
Um,
And moving up
Tavares,
the standings, putting
yeah,
space between them and Florida, that's quite a mean feat.
and at 34, Tavares is not showing any signs of slowing down. He's finally hit 20 goals for the 15th time in 16 seasons. Philadelphia is now 8-10-1 on home ice, where traditionally they've been one of the tougher teams to play. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just glad to see that the Leafs are finally racking up some points and doing the thing.
I have to say, Aaron, I think what we're seeing with Tavares is the benefit of him allowing the C on his jersey to be supplanted onto the jersey of Austin Matthews. He doesn't have to work. I don't think there's as much pressure on him as the captain now as an alternate as opposed to a captain. I think it has allowed him the freedom to be the hockey player he can be without, not that he doesn't show leadership, because he does. He exudes leadership on and off the ice. But he does get to defer and think about his game a little more. And the difference in a player's game can be just a tiny, tiny little bit, can yield giant returns. And I think that A instead of a C has helped him.
I definitely think so. I mean, John has never been one to try to hog the spotlight. He's always been a very self-effacing, kind of work behind the scenes kind of guy. Like his uncle John, not
There you go.
made a captain.
Us lacrosse fans know all about that.
Exactly. But he's
Right.
not always the person that wants to take the lead, but will step up and lead by example as opposed to lead by word and deed.
I got a question. I got
Sure.
a question for you. All right. Given you're the one that makes the decision, do you wait till the off season to sign Marner and Tavares?
Yes.
Why?
Because I don't need their agents negotiating in the press. You can speculate all you want, but there's plenty of time between the end of the season and July 1st, when silly season officially starts, for you to get things done and get things nailed down.
I agree with you.
It doesn't mean that they can't talk.
No, absolutely. I agree with you 100%, even on that last point. In my opinion, it's better that they don't sign, because right now both those players are playing as good or better than anybody could have anticipated before the season started. I mean, everybody dreams about how good Marner can be, but realistically speaking, what he's doing is a reality check on his ability. And here's why I think they shouldn't sign him. 2 reasons to start. One, why impact on the way they're going right now? Let's not change. Don't fix it. It ain't broke. It doesn't need fixing. So wait till the end of the season. And what I really like about that is when the Leafs go in the playoffs and they play in the playoffs, not only do Tavares and Marner have to show what they can do in the playoffs, and their contract's going to rely on what they do in the playoffs, because it will. And some people might say, "Oh, you're crazy, Frank. If you do that, they win the Stanley Cup, they'll have to pay so much. The Brinks-Tuck's going to go backing up, and they're going to empty the Brinks-Tuck." So what? They win a Stanley Cup. Give them all the money they want, because essentially, Come on, man. That's what it's all about. If they win the cup and they earn a little more money because they won the cup, that's a trade every Leaf fan would make in a heartbeat. They would make that trade. And I really think leave everything the way it is. They both know they want to be on the Leafs, and they know the Leafs want them. That's not the issue. I just think that, like you said, you said it specifically, and I'm saying emotionally, they can discuss trades. They shouldn't be talking about, their agents can talk to the Leafs. They can have conversations. And all they got to do till the end of the year is play hockey and play the way they've been playing with no impact on that, the way they've been playing.
No, I can definitely see that. I'm with you 100% of the way.
And we'll see how they do. What do we got here? Oh, I think
we got no time.
I think we're out of time.
We are, unfortunately, but that's the way
sure?
it goes. We got an hour on Friday.
Oh, well, that sounds lovely.
Indeed, sir.
Aaron, thanks for doing this, buddy.
Always a pleasure, Frank.
I'm Candid Frank Stanisci. Thank you for watching Candid Frank live with Aaron William Freeland. We're here live Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 6. The show can also be heard on the Spanglish World Radio Network. For CFL talk, news, entertainment, and other sports programming we offer, please check out spanglishworld.ca. Spanglish World. Watch it, hear it, read it, download it, and live it. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.